What you're seeing here is I'm just starting off right at data.world at the homepage. As you can see right now, we've got a homepage hero banner here that points you to the webinar, which you all are a part of right now, as well as our COVID-19 data center page. And that's really that page that you heard us mention earlier, that resources/coronavirus, where we've got obviously this great data being provided and curated by the Associated Press. But also a bunch of different data sets, from the Johns Hopkins data to Cubentis to New York Times and so on and so forth. So please feel free to go there, check that out. There are links to go to the respective data.world data sets. And I think what's really great is that you don't even have to be a data.world member yet to be able to go to these different data sets. So if I hit this here, you can actually see that I am logged out. I am not logged in. I do not have an account created yet for data.world, and I can already go and access this overview page, kind of understand, what this data is, and kind of take off from there. So that's something that you can do even without an account. But as part of this, quick demonstration, I did want to show you how easy it is to set up an account and how quickly you can find different types of data sets you may want to work with, actually go and work with and analyze that data, and then if you actually wanted to contribute data back. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit join here. There's a few other ways that we can kind of cause the sign up to get started. And all we have to do is just fill in a couple of forms here. So I'll put Corona webinar, Corona web, sorry, I've got some random windows popping up for some reason, at data.world. I'll stick my name in here and hit continue. And that's basically it. At that point now, we've created an account, and we're able to not only access these different data sets, but also we have a number of private data sets and projects allocated to our account as well if we want to start to do our own sort of work and productivity, and all the different features and functionality now have sort of been unlocked. And so I'll kind of close this here, and you can see that now I'm a member, I can actually see the preview of the data, and I can kind of interact with this data more broadly speaking. Something that is built into our platform that makes it easier for you to look at these different data sets, like what the Associated Press has put here, is the fact that not only can you see, this rich media summary that explains sort of what the data set is, the ability to put things like embed code and things like that from Tableau and other platforms in here, as well as sort of related projects and queries, is also the ability to understand the data itself in more detail. And so if you were to click on any one of these icons here for any of these columns, you actually get to see the different summary statistics for those given columns. And so you can see that, for example, most of these columns are non-empty, that there's a particular shape to the data, some sample data, what the mean is for that given column. So you get some different pieces of information here that really help you understand, a given data set in more detail. And before I do a little bit of work with this particular data set, one thing I do want to show you is actually how to perform some searches as well, and be able to look for data more broadly. And just before we do that, I have my phone here, so I'm going to verify my email, and that way we can actually make that banner disappear. So that is done now. So when I search, I could do something like coronavirus COVID-19 and pull that up there. And so here we can see, a bunch of different results that are getting pulled back. The data resource hub is the first thing that comes up. And in some cases, we have these really quick and easy knowledge cards that bubble up to the top and help you get to those different sort of curated or more specific data assets more quickly. But obviously I can kind of scroll through and I can see all sorts of different data sets that our universal search is picking up, such as that data set from Johns Hopkins. We see some data here about English local authority cases, even some projects where folks are doing some analysis, like this Kung Fu AI project that you heard us mention earlier. As part of search, not only can you kind of scroll and see the different types of data sets, you can obviously filter by lots of different things as well, such as what was the account, whether it's an organization or a person that has created it. You heard us mention Easy IMDE earlier. State of Connecticut has 6 different assets that they put on the platform. by tag as well. So for example, if we wanted to filter by health and human services, the ability to kind of do that. And what's also great is that because data.world is not just a data platform, but also a social platform, I can very easily click, state of Connecticut here, and I can see that, for example, that this is an organization on data.world. I can learn more about them. I can even do things like follow them so that as they push out additional data sets and other types of information, that's going straight into my feed. In addition to search, this concept of having a home feed is another really important aspect of being able to find and discover data, right? Because not everything is a data hunter activity. You're not always trying to search for something specific. Serendipity and sort of things coming to you is also equally important in order to sort of understand, what's out there and what might be valuable to you. And so this, your updates feed is full of all sorts of the things that you follow and that we believe are going to be relevant to you, different changes that are happening to the data sets that you're interacting with. And then if you click this community tab on the left-hand side, you can see more broadly across the community, what are some of the most popular data sets, what are some of the different tags that are really popular, access to documentation and so forth. So some different ways to browse as well as find different information. Now, I do want to go back to that data set that is provided by the Associated Press. So I'm going to really quickly type in Associated Press. You can see I can go to their org page here, and then this is that data set that we were looking at earlier. So at this point, I want to transition and talk to you a little bit more about how you can work with data on data.world. And so when I hit explore this data set, what this is doing is it's actually creating what we call an untitled project. This is essentially a temporary workspace where now this data set has been attached to it, and I can use any of those queries that Ken had showed you that had been attached to that data set. I can do things like look at that highest per capita caseload query. I can see that Rockland here shows up at the top. But I also have the ability to start to do my own analysis and actually open this up in my own tools if I want to. So if I were to say, hey, I can see this, county level information here, and I'd actually like to do my own query on it, I can go ahead and do that. Also, I know that there's a query here that is the one that you saw earlier where Ken was able to type the word Texas in here. Let's say I want to kind of enhance and modify this. I might go ahead and save a copy of it and say, state and county query template. And I can save this project now. I don't have to keep it a temporary space. I can make it an actual permanent location where I can collaborate either individually or actually start to add other people. So I'll say that's a new project and I'll hit continue, and then I'll have an opportunity to name it. I'm just going to stick this in my personal account, but we do have obviously the ability to support organizations. So if you have a team or a company that needs to collaborate around data, or maybe you're even interested in our enterprise data catalog, which has broader governance and metadata capabilities, those different organizations would be available for you to interact with and save things to as well. So I'll call this coronavirus webinar analysis. And go ahead and create this project. So when I went and I copied that query into my new project, obviously it brought over that query. This is now in my own space, and it automatically went ahead and connected that open data set that's out there to that project. So now it's available for my use. And I can easily from here now edit this and say, okay, in addition to having state in here, which by the way, I'll make be Texas, I'm going to also put in county here. Let's call that Travis. I'll make this its own variable. And I'll say that not only where state is that variable, but also where county is that variable as well. County. And you can see that this is called county name here. I can easily see that there, or I can see it in the schema on the right-hand side. And so I can make sure that I get that right here. You can also see that we have auto suggestion here that helps guide you to the right queries so that you do things in the way that's going to work right. So you can see I can run that query here. Oh, I accidentally wrote country, county. There we go. You can see that the errors are helpful there. And now you can see how that shows up here, right? So if I were to hit save now, that's going to go ahead and save that. And now if I switch to preview this, you can see now that in addition to having state, I have the ability to do county as well. Now, what's great about this is not only can you sort of do this kinds of analysis, but you have the ability to, for example, download this data and have that be something that you can use in your own tools, right? Save this to other data sets or projects if you want to create sort of pipelines or curated ways to interact with this in different assets and different projects. And you have the ability to open this in your application that really is your application of preference. So if I hit open, you'll see that because this is a brand new account, I don't have any integrations yet. I can go ahead and hit find integrations, and you can see that if I scroll down here, there's a variety of different tools we can work with. I'm going to activate Tableau, which I can click by Tableau, enable, and authorize. And now I can very quickly go back to that query I was working with, and you can see now I have this ability to open with Tableau. So I'm going to show that super fast here. I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and I'm going to hop over to Tableau. And you can see in Tableau Public, if you all have that, or if you have Tableau Professional, that's awesome as well. There's this option of a web data connector. I can simply paste that URL there. Every single data set and project in data.world is an API endpoint with web connector capability. So this is really how portable that data is. I can go ahead and hit enter. It's going to ask me to enter my username here, which was tgasper corona, and my password. Nope, I might have my password wrong here. But once we log in here, then basically it's going to pull that in as a synced data source. And then I can create whatever visualizations I want to. So that just shows you how easy it is to go ahead and connect to your tools of choice, be able to visualize that data there. And once we're done, if we publish that to our own sort of Tableau server internally in our business or at our organization, or maybe you're using Tableau Public to push those visualizations out to the world, you can easily go to your project summary, add a summary, and drag and embed those different visualizations here. If I type / you can see a few different options here. I can bring in code, I can bring in embed content, so I can embed those visualizations here. And I can also do things like actually drag these assets in from the left-hand side, so that way I can actually have that be a dynamic kind of summary. So you can see that here, right? So I'll go ahead and do that. I'll hit done. And now when I go back out to this page here, you can see that this becomes a part of that. So just to kind of wrap things up, if you have your own data that you want to bring into the platform, it's really as simple as kind of creating that project as well. You just hit new in the top corner. You can see you can choose data set and project. I could create a new data set. And from here, I have the ability to give it a name. Let's call this Corona examples. And then I can add data on this next screen. And this data can be data that is on my computer. Maybe I downloaded it. I can sync it from other URLs, other endpoints. And if I set up some integrations here, I can also do that with things like Excel, Google Drive, databases like Oracle, MySQL, Snowflake, and I can even virtualize that data into data.world. When you bring data into data.world, whether it's virtualized, whether it's data that you imported and dragged in, you can actually query across those different data sources. You can join multiple data sources together, regardless of if they're from the same database or not. So that just goes to show some of the analysis that you can do. You could take that open data that you got related to COVID, your own data within your organization, cross that data together, and create combined analysis.